Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Canon Chatter TV with me, Stephen. It is deadline day. It is my favourite day of the year. Well, one of two favourite days of the year. I do enjoy the January one as well, but not quite so much as today. So much happening already, so much to talk about. We have Bellerin potentially going, Maitland-Niles potentially going. Williams' contract was terminated yesterday. Nelson could be going. Kalashnik, Elneny, possibly Lacazette, who knows? So much to talk about. And obviously, there's the breaking news of one potentially coming in. So with that said, we'll do some quick introductions. Obviously, everybody knows Lottie from the channel. Lottie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Thank you. Excited for today. Hopefully some big news coming up, and hopefully we'll get some big signings. I want to be really confident that we will. I'm not, but I'm trying to be. So I'm trying to be really upbeat and excited today. Okay. Along with us for now, we have James Rowe, all the way from Holland. James, brilliant to have you with us. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you both for having me on. Really looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, listen, what we'll do, we'll play our quick Canon Chatter credit video and we'll get started.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's
Okay, so as I say, welcome back to Canon Chatter TV. We'll go for a couple of quick comments here before we get into things. Yeah, my limited, you running late. Do you know what? We were having a great conversation off air, and we kind of forgot that we needed to start. So that's why we're running late. Our apologies. Afternoon, Jay. How are you? All right. Well, listen, I think the first thing to do is get straight into it with the news this morning that Arsenal have agreed a deal with Bologna for the 22-year-old right back. And I've got his name written up on the board, which is why I'm looking up there. Takehiro Tomiyasu, I think it's pronounced. Excuse me if my pronunciation's wrong. It looks like it's around about 20 million euros plus bonuses for the 22-year-old right back from Bologna. I'm going to be honest. This one doesn't excite me as much as I would like. You know, I was really hoping that we would have moved for Max Aarons today. So, James, we're going to come to you first. What's your thoughts on this deal?
First and foremost, I think it's panic. First and foremost. And then, obviously, with Bellerin potentially leaving on a loan deal to Real Betis Sevilla, it will be really interesting to see what happens. I've been saying for quite some time now, as a football writer based in the Netherlands and also an Arsenal fan of more than 30 years, we seem to not do our due diligence and look at the characters of the players that we're signing. It's as if we're linked to every single player in the world, when if you look at the smart teams, how they buy and who they buy, and you look at the progression that teams such as Leicester have made, if you look at... apart from the big three in Portugal, Benfica, Porto and Sporting, Braga are a team to have made great progress in recent years. And I just think that Arsenal just being led a little bit by the reputation of players, the price tag of players, when we really need to start to dig deep and make what I call unpopular decisions. Because a lot of Arsenal fans, particularly the younger generation, they seem to think that they judge a player on a price tag, on social media presence, and that kind of thing, when you really need to start to look at the footballing abilities. And Bologna are a decent team in Serie A. They've had their day against some good teams, especially at home. But whether that's a player can make the step from Serie A to the Premier League is much to be desired, and we don't know that. So I just think at the minute we've spent an awful lot of money. For example, Lukonga, Arsenal paid over £20 million for him. He scored 40 in 80 appearances, 3 goals in 80 appearances, and Arsenal have parted with £20 million. And it's the same, for example, with Ben White. The season before, Leeds were quoted at 25 million, and they declined and wanted to strengthen their squad in different areas. A season later, Arsenal pay double that. So I just think we're not thinking about what we're doing. It's like a trolley dash at a supermarket, and I'll pick up that, maybe that one's on offer. When for the long-term benefit of the football club, to take time and to do things properly, because as somebody who's interviewed over 350 professional players and managers at all different levels of world football, the smallest details at the highest level can make a huge difference. And I just think we've got to start to learn from our mistakes.
Yeah. Okay. Lottie, what's your thoughts?
Well, I don't exactly know who he is. I don't know much about him, but once he's in the shirt, we've got to get behind him, I guess. I just hope he isn't a panic buy. I really hope he isn't, because that's the last thing we need right now.
Yeah. So from what I understand about him, he can play as a right-sided centre-back and as a right-back. So he's kind of similar mould to Ben White and essentially Callum Chambers as well. I would have preferred a more sort of orthodox right-back. But, if he's coming in, if he's the one, we have to get behind him. We have to support him. And we just have to hope that, in 2 years' time, we're not looking to cancel his contract in the hope of getting somebody else. Georgina, I don't know much about this guy. I was thinking we needed more of an experienced player for now, but we shall see. We'll support the guy. Bungle, Tommy Asu, pronunciation was spot on. Thank you. He's highly regarded over here. Maybe you can share a wee bit more information then, Bungle, and let us know, what's being said about him. UMI Limited, we need experience too. Wish him best of luck. Swarat. Lottie, are you going to have a go at names here?
That's Swarat Sahad.
Okay.
He's over in India at the moment. So.
My apologies for my pronunciation. Hey guys, how are you? Don't know about this Japanese player. And Arsen 65895622. Why don't we buy Aarons? Yeah, I mean that's okay. For me it was Max Aarons. It seems that this deal potentially could hinge on Hector Bellerin going out to Betis. And Betis are struggling to offload players. They need to reduce their wage bill to be able to cover it. I don't know if either of you seen just before we came on there. Carvalho, they were trying to get to go to Fulham, but he's come out and said no, he's staying at Betis. So, there is still a potential that this deal could break down if we can't get Bellerin out. What have you been hearing on that one, James?
You fell away then, Stephen. Can you repeat that, please?
I was just saying that this deal could be very much hinged on Bellerin leaving, and there's no guarantees yet that one's going to actually happen, because Betis are struggling to get rid of players to reduce their wage bill. I was just wondering, what have you been hearing on this deal this morning? Yeah.
From what I've heard, it's likely that the deal with Bellerin will go through. I think as well with a team like Betis, Bellerin himself is a player going to a league which is equally as strong as the Premier League in terms of depth, especially in terms of the away days. But transfers at the highest level, they can break down for the tiniest of reasons. And a lot of cases, a lot of young players often get, I wouldn't say duped, but a project gets sold to them, where young players particularly, when they are moving abroad for the very first time, a lot of them are learning life skills. They're learning how to cook. They're learning how to clean. They're away from home for the very first time. And I think that's a facet which is often forgotten about by football fans. They just think that a player rocks up at a club and life goes on. But in many cases, the club becomes their family because they're away from home. And when they're not playing, as in the case of William Saliba, they can become disillusioned and fall out of love with the game. So even though today is a very exciting day for a lot of people, I always like to say about the human element of it. I mean, I remember when I spoke to Philip Sandler, who went from PEC Zwolle to Manchester years ago. And I was one of the first people to speak to him when the news broke. Excuse me. And I asked him, I said, how does a player go from PEC Zwolle to Manchester City? And he said, well, James, they really sold it to me. They told me that I'll be training with Aguero and David Silva. he in turn turned down Alkmaar and PSV Eindhoven and Ajax to go to Manchester City. And in the 3 years that he's been there, he's hardly played. And for a defender that had so much promise, I see a lot of people, especially on Arsenal Twitter today, getting excited about the tweets from one particular journalist. But I would love that journalist to come out and say, right, okay, I'm aware of what happens when a player becomes disillusioned with a transfer, because not every footballer is rich, not every footballer is rolling in money, and a lot of them, a transfer can also go south where things don't quite work out, and it's very difficult to get your mojo back, kind of thing. If you look at Donny van der Beek a couple of years ago, it looked for all the world he was going to Real Madrid. It looked as if it was the worst kept secret in football that Donny van der Beek was going to Real Madrid. All of a sudden, Real Madrid don't turn up. He goes to Manchester United. And he himself has hardly played. This is a former captain of Ajax who's got amazing leadership skills and has also fallen out of favour with the national team. For someone who's got so much ability and so much promise, it's a massive shame. So I think today, even though lots of people are excited, I'd also like to say to a new audience that just remember the other side of the coin, where there is not a pot of gold at the end of every transfer. It's not all champagne and Skittles. It can sometimes go a little bit awry. And then think about how would you act as a player or a manager in that position.
Okay. Just a breaking one there. David Ornstein has just tweeted, Real Betis have reached an agreement with Arsenal to sign Hector Bellerin on loan. No option to buy. Working on final details of personal terms. 26-year-old right back taking a pay cut to get career back on track. Medical in London this afternoon. So that's interesting. The no option to buy or no obligation to buy in there, which is going to put us back in the same position next summer, in that we're going to have to try and sell him again. Lolly, how do you feel about that one?
Do you know what? I don't know what Eddie's doing. I mean, we're going to be in the same position next summer. I just hope he has a good season over there, and then someone will actually buy him, and we can just get him off the books. I mean, he's completely dropped off with us, and you can see he doesn't want to be here. I don't know why we're loaning him. We should be selling him. Georgina, I am sorry. I know you're listening, but we just need to sell him. Absolutely need to sell him. But there should have been an obligation to buy. I know, as James just said, Betis are not in the position to get up the money for him, but we need to cut this squad down. We really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Georgina, to be fair, has commented there, fair play to Hector, but we all know next year we are back to square one. So yeah, we'll go through a couple of these comments and we'll move on to somebody else that I want to talk to James about. So Arsene and all the numbers are transferring to Arteta and Eddie have been shambolic. We spend heavily without improving the team, and I've said the same thing on our shows. We're effectively, we spent 130 million and we're back to the same team we finished last season with. Any hopes of getting a war on deadline day? Who knows? I would love to, but I'm not hopeful. Played for Japan. So Bungle saying about, so yes, Tomiyasu played for Japan under 16 level, hard worker, no ego, will fight tooth and nail. I think we probably need a bit of that right now. Absolutely. David, how are you? Hi, hope everyone's good today. Have a good transfer deadline day. Where is our experience back, Gabrielle? But this is true, it's going to be a very young backline, but it's not the worst thing, because let's face it, we're not challenging this season, but if we have a young backline, they can grow together, which is what happened with the sort of famous back four. They all grew together. Go, Eddie is the worst human being ever given a job at Arsenal. Do you know what? For me, he's ruined his legacy at Arsenal. And this is why I've always said I don't want Arsenal legends taking on jobs and roles at the club. I don't class Arteta as a legend, so I'm not a big issue with that. But certainly likes the idea and people talking about, and we're going to come on to another Arsenal legend shortly that we were talking about before we came on air, in Mark Overmars. But the likes of people saying about Henry or Vieira coming back to manage the club, no, not for me. Not with the treatment our fans give our managers and stuff. You know, I wouldn't want to see that happen to them. Georgina, I'm with you, Lottie. I was all prepared this morning for his goodbye. Now it's not happening. Playing with my heartstrings. We can't sell Bellerin because of poor performances. Okay. Right. So we'll move on. And another, obviously, it's not even a rumour. It's pretty much confirmed now that the deal is done. And that is Reiss Nelson is going over to the Netherlands, and he's going to be playing for Feyenoord for the next season. And that's a loan deal, having extended his contract by a year with Arsenal to obviously preserve a bit of value. James, you know, this is one you can then give us a bit more insight into, because, I mean, me personally, I'm not overly familiar with the Dutch league. I know some of the teams and stuff, but it's not a league I watch an awful lot of. So, I mean, for Reiss Nelson, what can we expect from him out there?
Well, it's a league I've been watching firsthand for what will nearly be 2 decades before too long. It's always been an acquired taste. Eredivisie, every Ruud van Nistelrooy that leaves, there's also an Alfonso Alves, and who did great work at Heerenveen, only to not do so well at Middlesbrough, for example. And Feyenoord is not as polished as PSV Eindhoven and Ajax. They've have a new manager in Arne Slot, who was the manager of AZ Alkmaar when they were pushing Ajax really hard. And they'll also be playing in the UEFA Conference League, and had a bad result last weekend, losing away at Utrecht 3-1. And switching between playing a 4-2-3-1 formation and 4-3-3 of the typical Dutch school, if you like. But I wonder if this is a good loan move for him, because I don't know if he's going to play every single game. And I think for a young player, it's about being able to play. I certainly hope that Nelson doesn't have the thoughts in his head that all he has to do is rock up at Feyenoord and he'll get a place in the starting 11. I don't think it will be like that. I think they will first ascertain how fit he is and how many games he can play. Obviously, Feyenoord playing in Europe will help them in terms of squad numbers. But although from the British point of view, people will know Feyenoord is a big club. But as I say, they're not as far on as Ajax and PSV. They are quite down the pecking order in terms of, I mean, the name still remains and the stature of the club, but they've been somewhat overtaken in recent years by AZ Alkmaar and Vitesse. So I wonder if this is a good move for Reiss. I don't think it will be, in all honesty.
Okay. I mean, you're saying they're Feyenoord not as big a club as they once were. Is it as bad a situation as we have at Arsenal, or are they still considered one of the sort of the very big clubs? And
it's not as bad in terms of how quickly Arsenal has fallen, and also Feyenoord are part of the traditional top three. But they've had to rely heavily on youth. You know, they've revamped their training ground and given more youth players a chance. Last season they had Dick Advocaat in charge to kind of steady the ship, but they have had in the past big players on big wages and struggled to get rid of them, and they've just had to be very careful. And as I say, even though the name is very much there, the quality and the standing of the team that they once had. You think of the team that won the UEFA Cup back in 2003. You know, they excellent team. They had them full of internationals, full of international quality players as well. They've kind of fallen down the pecking order a little bit.
Okay. Lottie, Reiss Nelson, we've talked about him on the channel before. Are you sad that he's not going to get a chance at Arsenal?
Not really. I mean, I still think he should have took his opportunity to go on loan last season. And if I remember rightly, he refused to go. Him taking this opportunity might be a good idea for now. If it gets him some form of game time, it's better than him just doing whatever behind the scenes at Arsenal. I mean, there's quite a few of at the moment that I like that. And to get one to go on loan, I wouldn't say that's a bad thing at all.
Yeah, I mean, he's a player that I've often said, for me, he lacks a bit of end product. He's good at running with the ball and good at all the step overs and stuff like that. But when it actually comes to putting in a decent cross or scoring goals, it's where he falls down. And as James rightly says, if he's going to go with an attitude if he walks into a team, then he needs to check that. And he needs to sort himself out, because I think that's kind of, he has that attitude a little at Arsenal that he deserves to be higher up the pecking order than he actually is. And we've seen it when Arteta came in, and the funny thing is, people are saying about, oh, he needs to go, we need to get rid of him, and I'm one of those people. But a lot of people at the start were complaining that, he was Arteta's pet project, because Arteta played him for the first few games, and, people saying, oh, he's a pet project. And now those same people are complaining that he didn't get a chance in the Arsenal team. So it's very much a split. And it seems to be the people that are very much on the Arteta outside are saying that Reece Nelson deserves a chance and that he's better than what he is. And yet people who are, I'm not saying necessarily Arteta in, because there's very few of those Arteta in people anymore. But, those sort of more recent people are thinking that, no, he needs to go and get some minutes somewhere else. So it'll be interesting to see, obviously, what happens with him. James, obviously, I'm sure you'll be providing plenty of updates on your own Twitter page and stuff of how he's doing. I'm sure he's one you'll be keeping an eye on.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But Lottie makes a great point about players not wanting to go out on loan. Do you guys both remember Sanchez Watt from a fair few years ago? But
yeah.
Do you remember him as an Arsenal player?
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit.
I was fortunate enough to interview. I was fortunate enough to interview him about his playing career, and we spoke about his time at Arsenal. And he made a fantastic point that in the group that he was in, hardly anyone wanted to go out on loan. They all wanted to stay at the club, and they all wanted to train with the Nasris and the Van Persies and Fabregases. Nobody wanted to go out on loan. He did. He went on loan to Leeds, and he said it was very much the making of him. He said the fans really took him into their hearts. They treated him as if he was one of their own, and he went on to establish a decent professional career. And I kind of get the impression that the same thing is happening now, where young players, they don't want to go out on loan. They're happy to train and that be that. But a career goes by in a blink of an eye. And you see, even at youth level, there's so many, the financial rewards are so big, where even recently, I know of a story where a young professional goes in to sign his first ever professional contract, and his mum and dad are in the office expecting their mortgage to be paid off. And you think, well, it's a young professional who's still got their whole career to go and to come, and the financial rewards being so big, and the parents thinking that, oh, my son or my daughter is going to be a millionaire and we're set for life. It simply doesn't work like that. And in terms of transfers are extremely delicate things that can be curtailed or can break down at any given moment. And there's always interesting stories behind how close players came to changing a club, how something was rescinded at the last minute. It really is a very delicate process.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we'll move on because I know obviously there's lots of stuff going on, and we'll come on to some more of these maybe stuff from other clubs in a wee minute or two. But there is another thing I want to talk to, and we talked about it briefly off air, and that is obviously, for me personally, I don't think it's been a particularly good window for Arsenal. And I said this last night on our show that I really think Edu has really dropped the ball. He struggled with getting players out more so than anything else. We talked, and it was said that we could see a massive overhaul of the squad, but we needed to get so many players out. And Edu really seems to have dropped the ball on that one, especially, it looks like Eddie Nketiah's move has broken down. Xhaka's move broke down. We still have El Neni, we still have Kalashnik. We had to terminate Williams' contract. Bellerin is only going today by the looks of it. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, we don't know what's happening with. And these are all players that should have been moved on by now. And for me, it comes down to Edu's inability to actually do the job. And it's been rumoured that someone potentially who would like the job is Mark Overmars. Now, it was Ray Parler actually came out, I think it was yesterday, on that terrible, terrible radio station that I know you do a bit of work with, James. So I have to be careful what I say there. But Ray Parler apparently said that he got a text from Mark Overmars saying that he would be interested in the job and would like to come back to Arsenal and, and get involved in the project. Again, we know Mark Overmars as an Arsenal legend because, he was with the club for 3 years and a very successful 3 years before he moved on to Barcelona. And obviously he's Dutch. He's out there. I think he's sporting director, isn't he, at Ajax at the minute? I mean, is that something you would like to see, Edu being replaced with Mark Overmars?
Well, I think what is important is to let people know about the differences, because everything in different countries works differently. In the case of Mark Overmars, to give you both a little bit of background information first, a lot of Arsenal fans will say, "Oh, he did an amazing job at Ajax," which he has done. But I'd like to let people know today that he did an even better job where he started out learning the ropes of this role. He also played for Go Ahead Eagles during his playing career, finished his playing career there, and learned how to do the role of sporting director at Go Ahead Eagles. And let me tell you, he did an even better job at Go Ahead Eagles than what he did and than what he has done at Ajax, because they were staring into the abyss. They were literally staring into the abyss, and he managed to put things right where they got promoted last season as well. So they're still feeding off the good things that he put in place. When you hear him speak to local media, he's so committed to his current role at Ajax that you forget he was a footballer. And the great thing for me is he's so transparent. He's extremely transparent when speaking to the media as a sporting director. Like before the game against Vitesse last Sunday, he said that it's highly unlikely that David Neres will remain at the club. It's likely that he'll go to Leicester. And one important thing which fans must know, in my opinion, is here in the Netherlands, every professional football club has to hand their books into the Dutch FA, the KNVB. And you get audited, if you like, and they double check that a club is not living beyond their means. If the Dutch FA, the KNVB, find out that a club has been living beyond their means or spending too much money, you can receive sanctions that range from points deductions, fines, to your professional license being revoked. So you have a parameter upon which you have to do your work. Obviously, in the Premier League, you don't. But I think I asked myself, would Overmars, would he work with someone like Stan Kroenke? Obviously, Kroenke is someone who can safeguard his investment. He's sanctioned an awful lot of deals for players where Arsenal have been hoodwinked, really. I mean, if you take Thomas Partey, for example, £50 million is somewhat injury prone. He leaves Atletico and they win the league. But if you ask a Arsenal fan, who did Thomas Partey play for before Atletico, nobody could tell you that it was Mallorca, because they only seem to know the latest club. They always like to, but when you try to give examples of what's gone on in the past, and how, like for example, Gabriel, everybody knows that Gabriel played for Lille, but not many know that he was playing for Troyes in France, and also Dynamo Zagreb. So before playing for Lille, he's playing for Dynamo Zagreb and playing for Troyes, and then all of a sudden he's playing for Arsenal. It's the same with Pablo Mari. Pablo Mari played here in the Netherlands for NAC Breda, and he was even made captain. And he even went to the manager at the time, Stefan, and he said, I don't know why you're making me captain, because I have no command of the local language. I'm not able to communicate with Dutch teammates in Dutch. I'm not able to speak to Dutch. I don't know why I'm being made captain. And then fast forward a couple of years later, and Pablo Mari is playing for Arsenal. And it's as if we don't do our due diligence. And as some of the people hearing me for the first time today, some may know, some may not know, I interview players and managers for the Secret Footballer website. My latest interview due out tomorrow will be with Arsenal legend Alan Smith, and where he talks about signing for George Graham's Arsenal, where he talks at length about what got that deal over the line, because one of the things I like to do is you're not just interviewing professional players and managers, you are looking at the human element of football, because so many people like to think that it's just about what happens on the pitch. It's also off it. And it's always a bonus when you speak to former Arsenal legends. I've been very fortunate to speak to the likes of Bob Wilson, Kevin Campbell as well. And it's a fantastic honour. But of course, you always have to remain professional. But it's great to look back on a great body of work, but also to educate football fans and to let them know that it's not just about the bright lights. It's also about how players feel when a transfer breaks down, when a manager leaves, for example, when a new manager comes and decides to malign players. So I always say, guys, it's much a world game. It really is. And it's important for people to realise that, yes, there are stars, but it's a team game at the end of the day. And all the best teams in the world, teams there's ever been, have to learn to play a team. And even as a great AC Milan striker, Graziano Minardi, even said to me, he played with the likes of Berardi, Maldini, Saki. He was saying to me that being a part of that team, that great, amazing AC Milan team, even the best champions have to learn to play together. You know, when you are able to print something like that, you like to let people know. But, you know, it is very much a world game and a lot deeper than many think.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. I can see just in the bottom of my screen here, we have got Scott Borg has joined us. I'm just going to bring him in now as well. Afternoon, evening, what is it out there, Scott?
It has just ticked on to 9:37 p.m. and we just finished up our stream. So morning to you guys, evening from me, James, Lottie, Stephen. Nice to be here with you.
Brilliant. Thanks for coming on, Scott. Scott, have you met James before?
Never. I've seen a lot of James's work, but never quite met like this. So pleasure, James. I hope I haven't frozen, James. Don't blame me. Oh, goodness.
I'm sure I'll be back in a sec. Scott, how are you?
Yeah, I'm well, guys. Look, it's deadline day. This is meant to be one of the exciting days, particularly when there's so many things up in the air. So I'm well. I'm pumped. I won't be getting to bed early tonight, I don't think.
No. So far we've already covered off, obviously, the talk of, give me one sec here. Was the talk of Arsenal's new signing. We have James back on a different feed. How are you, James? You still there? Hello.
I think we lost him again.
Yeah, we were talking, Scott, about, obviously we've done this deal by the looks of it this morning for Tomiyasu from Bologna, our new right back, and it looks like Hector Bellerin's off the Betis. So we've lost James. Hopefully he'll come back on. How are you feeling about that one?
Look, it's hard to say. I'm happy we've signed a player. Quite frankly, I always get excited when we sign a player, but I don't watch a lot of Serie A. I definitely don't watch a lot of Bologna. He's not someone I know a lot about. From what I've read, seems to be that he is slightly more versatile, can play in the middle or play on the right. But a lot of the things, and you guys may have done a bit more scouting than me, I seem to keep seeing that he's pretty good going forward. Look, I'm happy to have the player, absolutely happy, because I just watched Kolasinac play centre-back for us. So I really like a no-nonsense kind of defender to come in as well who can kind of command that back defence. But, hey, welcome to him. It's always nice to have a new Gooner.
Excellent. James, you're back with us?
Yeah, the wonders of technology. Yeah, I think I'll have to work with the Dutch authorities to see what's going on. But Scott, great to meet you, and thanks for
Pleasure,
your
mate.
kind words as well. Very much appreciated.
Pleasure.
All right, so just a couple of comments in here. Antonio, hello everyone. Hello Antonio, how are you? I see it's going to be one roller coaster of a window. Yeah, it could be an interesting last day. Wheezy J, good afternoon, guys. Watching you guys while at work on my phone. I got Sky Sports News on the TV. Bring it on. You should swap that over. Watch Sky Sports News on your phone and put us up on the TV. I'm sure all the customers in that big chain store would love to see our faces. Jay saying Belgium side OH Leuven are in talks to sign Runnerson. Lottie, if we could get rid of Runnerson today, what do you think?
Yeah, see you later. He's another one of the players that we need just to cut down on. I mean, we brought in Ramsdale now that should keep Mr. Leno on his toes, hopefully. But yeah, no, he can go. I mean, if we really need a third, we can pick up with Hine from the under-23s. What do you think, Scott?
Look, for me, I think this deadline day, it's probably more for us about who's going than who's coming. Let's be real. We've signed some players, we've spent some money, but there's a lot of players whose futures and Arsenal careers are up in the air. So I do think we'll see a lot of players go. Lottie, I can see Georgina in the chats talking about Mo Aneni. My mate, he could be one that goes as well. But at the end of the day, we've got to register a squad, and there are homegrown quotas as well. So all of that's going to factor in. I dare say that could have factored in with what we're seeing with Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree with that. I mean,
I don't know if you guys talked about, how do you feel about Ainsley?
we did. The boys did chat about that last night, but with me, I think people need to remember he's human at the end of the day. If you had a bad day at the office, you just want to put something out on social media, then fine, that's what we do. But it's also, you've got to look at it at a professional point of view. For him and his status of his job, it's not professional for him to do. So it's just a case of remembering he's human, he's a kid, but he's also a footballer and he needs to find that balance. I don't know what his agent is doing or anything like that. It's a bit, I don't want to say it, but it's a bit like spoilt brat behaviour for me. He's not getting his own way. So we'll have to see how it goes really with him. I mean, I believe we had this last season, something similar. But I'm not too sure about it, to be honest. We're hearing he wants to play right back. He doesn't want to play right back. I mean, Big Sam turned around and said to him, "Oh, why won't you just play right back? You play where you get told to play by the manager." And he still refused. So I don't know what's going on with him. He needs to get his head straight, or he needs a new agent.
Yeah,
that will actually sort him out.
It's tricky. It's so tricky. And the problem with, look, I love this time of year. I love deadline day. I love all the hype. But one of the things I don't love is there is just so much misinformation out there. Like I've seen things saying that he wants to play right back at Arsenal, but Arteta won't play him. I've seen things saying he only wants to play in the middle of the park. Like, there's so much misinformation out there that I think that sometimes where my grey hairs come in handy in that sense, because you've seen it so many times that you know to kind of step back and take it all with a grain of salt as well. But interesting times.
Speaking of grey hair, I'd like to thank Arsenal for giving me my first grey hair. I'm not even 30 yet. I pulled it out this morning.
Oh dear.
I know, well, I'm not impressed.
Apologies for disappearing there.
No worries, Stephen.
My youngest came back in from school and decided to come in, and he didn't want to be on camera, but he wanted to play the Xbox. But I'm actually watching Sky Sports News through the Xbox, so he was having a wee argument with me. Unfortunately, we've lost James. He just sent me a message saying, sorry for technical difficulties, being cut off 3 times in quick succession. It was great to chat, and I look forward to the next time. All the best. Enjoy the day. Speak soon. So anybody who, if you don't follow James, obviously I was going to give him a chance to give himself a plug before he was jumping off in a bit. You can follow him on his Twitter page, which is @JamesRoweNL. And you can also follow him on secretfootballer.com as well, where he does a lot of writing and his interviews and stuff on there. It was great having him on and getting a wee bit of insight from the Dutch perspective, as he lives out there and has done for the last 15 years. And we'll get him on again sometime. So, yeah, there we go. We'll have a wee look at some of these comments, and then we'll have a bit more chat. Jay saying, we've done that one, sorry. It's Keith, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Keith. Yeah, that's Keith
Hi,
W.
guys, Pringles Barbecue.
Good show.
Scott, I'm not sure if you've seen any of our show last night, but it kind of descended into
The great crisp debate.
a crisp debate over. It all started with a conversation about selling number 34 for a packet of Monster Munch and
And a Curly Whirly. Yeah.
and we got debating what was the best flavour, and obviously, for me, pickled onions a no-go.
No, pickled. Me and G voted for pickled onion. I've got to be on this.
In the spirit of things, I've got my Monster Munch
To
ready.
me, guys, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to put it out there really quickly. My mind just gets blown by the fact that you call them crisps. They're chips. you got packets of chips. I still find I've been over there a few times. Like I've been blessed to watch Arsenal play home, away, in Japan, Singapore, kind of all over the place. But the thing that always strikes me in London is adjusting to the lingo, the slang. I still remember I got off the plane at the airport. I met up with someone there who was going to show me around. The first thing she said to me was, "All right." I said, "Yeah, well, of course I'm all right. There's nothing wrong with me." But to us down here, we don't say "all right." We're, "How you going?" Like that's our kind of greeting. But when she asked me if I was all right, I thought, "Yeah, do I look sad? I'm just been on a plane. I'm a bit jet lagged." But yeah, no, crisps out, chips in, and salt and vinegar, guys. For what it's worth, salt and vinegar chips.
No, sorry.
Today,
We'll have this debate later. We'll have this debate another time. But we had a massive debate yesterday on it.
So Georgina,
Georgina, do I have to sell him for a Twix? Can we do that?
Keith, currently working and watching. Great show, guys, and awesome guests. Very, very interesting perspectives. Yeah, do you know what? We're going international today. So obviously we had James on from the Netherlands. We've got Scott on now from Australia. Later on tonight, we're going to have Angelo, the sensible gunner, on from Portland, Oregon, in the United States. And then obviously we've got Keith, our very own Keith there, coming on from England. And we have Albert from Albert JTV on there as well with us.
London. Yep.
Big ups.
London,
Big ups.
Yeah. Scott, I take it your cohorts aren't joining us?
No, the boys had their second vaccinations because we're nearly 10 weeks into lockdown down here. So the boys had their second vaccinations and they've hit them for 6.
Right.
They're not holding up too well. But Declared's jumped over with me. He's a Chelsea fan. Don't mind him. But he's a nice guy. Thanks. I did say at the end of our stream, I said, jump over to Cannon Chatter and check it out. So for a Chelsea fan, he's okay.
Declared, welcome to the channel. Make sure and hit the subscribe button and keep following us. We have a couple of Chelsea fans follow us now. So it's great to see. Gary, morning, Gary. How are you?
Gary, that's not how you spell my name. You know better.
He's saying you're the jackpot, Lottie. You're the jackpot. He's won the lottery.
I'll take that. Thank you, Scott.
Right, Keith, Curly Whirly, David, Pickled Onion,
saving them for later. And Keith
Pickled Onion Crisps, food of Satan. Well done, Keith. Well done. 1.66. That's another new one to the channel. Yep. Is that someone coming over from your?
No, not from us.
No?
Not from us.
Okay. Harrison has been spotted in Amsterdam. Do you think this is a good transfer?
Oh, that's because he can't play in the Italian leagues, isn't it, at the moment, because of his device in his heart or something, if I remember rightly?
Yes.
But I wonder if he'll be able to play in Amsterdam. Oh, that would be really... Oh, I wish James was here now.
Still with us.
Definitely.
I'll tweet him in a wee minute here and see if he can give us an answer on that one.
Yeah.
Jay, pickled onion,
Yes.
cream. David, they're crisps. Chips is American, says Keith.
Yeah.
Declare 100%. Yes, it's got salt and vinegar.
Yes, Georgina.
Cheese and onion all day long. Only if they're Tato, which is one of our brands over here, which do the best cheese and onion.
No, they are nice. The pub down the road does those. I agree with that one, Stephen.
Georgina, I'll chuck in a
Oh,
Twix.
so we're selling our sideways for two lots of Twix. Wicked.
All right, and don't forget me down in the Holy Land of Cornwall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you coming on the show today, Georgina? You can. More than welcome to come on if you want to join us.
Definitely, Jay.
Let me
Come
know.
join
We'll
us.
fire you through a link and you can come on any of the shows you want. No problem. Gary, damn autocorrect. Sorry, Lottie. Have a great day. And if anybody is needing something to do tomorrow when we're not on air, check out Gary's Extra Time podcast from last night. Salt and vinegar, chips, crisps. I'm eating them all. Yummy.
Yeah.
David, salt and vinegar is my favorite flavor, though. And third, I'm going to sub. Be careful what you wish for. I'm a massive.
I will vouch for that. I've
You've
been in the
been
chats on Scott's show. Declared is absolutely brilliant. I will give
She's
them that.
experienced it firsthand.
Yep.
Firsthand.
I've like, you need the backup on your channel. I'm sorry, but you need the backup.
Well, keep jumping over. I need you and Steve. You and Stephen to come back now.
Do you know what? It's a perfect time of day for me because normally I'm working, but I'm on holiday at the moment, so I'll definitely be tuning in a bit more when you guys are on as soon as I get the notification on my phone. So
I wanted to ask you guys your opinion. We were having a chat about it on our show.
yeah, come.
Are you shocked at all by the business that's been done in this transfer window? I know for me, I was kind of coming into it thinking COVID, a lot of clubs are in a tight financial situation. I was not expecting much movement. We've seen two of the greatest players of all time move. We've seen just a ton of players coming into the Premier League. Are you guys shocked by the level of movement this window?
Sorry,
Well,
go ahead, Lily.
Well, with the Premier League, thank you. Well, I think with the Premier League, most of us don't play. Most teams, we do. I will say that don't play by financial fair play, and I think that's a very massive influence. I don't know if you were listening when James was on over in the Dutch leagues that they have to submit their books to see if who's overspending, not overspending, etc. And then if anything is not right, they get sanctions. We don't have that here. Hence why teams like Chelsea, Man City, they spend what they want. Even Man United are on that book. If you look at all the teams, I think there was a financial table released a couple of weeks ago that I saw. We are third from the bottom for not overspending. Third from the bottom. The rest of them are all in debt with bank loans and everything else. We're one of the very few clubs that plays by the rules, and it's annoying, but long term it could be beneficiary. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's tight. Look, playing by the rules can be great, but unfortunately, if you're the only one playing by the rules, if you can't beat them, you've got to join them, take the gloves off at some time. But yeah, I'm shocked that we've spent 129 million, now more. I'm shocked that we have spent the amount that we've spent. I did not expect it. If you asked me at the start of the window, will Arsenal spend over 100 million? I would have said no way. But I'm shocked.
Do you think it's added any depth, guys, to what we've got? I know everyone knows I'm a massive fangirl of Sambi. So what about the rest of it? Do you think we've got enough depth in other positions now?
Stephen, you want to smash this question first?
Yeah,
we need some thinking time.
Yeah, I mean, I've said before that, in terms of, if you look at what we've brought in, we needed a backup for Tierney, because much of Tierney is a fantastic player and potentially a future captain of the club. He is made of glass and he gets injured, all the time. So we needed a quality backup for him, and we've done that. Tavares looks very, very good. I've been really impressed with what I've seen of him. More impressed than I thought I would be. and especially when you consider we only paid something around about 7 million for him, it seems an absolute bargain. So, good deal. Sambi, I know James wasn't overly excited by him. Certainly he was saying only 3 goals in 80 appearances and stuff. But again, from what I've seen of him, he looks a good player. He looks like someone who's going to drive the ball forward, which is what we need in midfield. So again, for the money, I think that's not too bad a deal. Ben White, we needed a ball-playing centre-back to replace David Luiz. Much as I wasn't David Luiz's biggest fan, he did offer more in defence. He had that ability to ping a pass, and when he went, we lost that. So, Holding doesn't have that ability. Murray doesn't have that ability. Gabriel, to an extent, does, but not quite as good as David Luiz could have done it. And that's very much what Arteta wants, is those ball-playing centre-backs. For me, a good deal. But, well, not a good deal. A good choice of centre-back to come in, concerning that he can't head the ball. And for a player that you're spending 50 million on, you want a defender that can head the ball. That's, you want to be buying a world-class centre-back at 50 million, not someone who has the potential to be a world-class centre-back. So that one is a little bit, I'm not convinced on. I'm happy enough for the player, but just not the money that was involved. Who else was there then? Who have I missed? Ramsdale.
Tomiyasu.
We'll come on to him in a minute. Ramsdale. And I mean, we talked about this last night, and I'll be the first to admit that I have been quite negative about Ramsdale, but maybe I was a bit harsh.
Yeah.
From reading up a lot about him, I said this last night, that a lot of the fans of the clubs that he's played for, were voting him player of the season despite them going down, and the one game he played the other night against West Brom, he looked assured, couple of wee nervy moments early on, but after that, he looked a decent enough keeper. It was only West Brom, but nothing went in the back of the net. And unfortunately, Leno hasn't been able to say that in any game this season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now against Norwich, whether Ramsdale comes in. I was reading something the other day that it had already been decided that he was going to play against Norwich to give him a chance. So, we'll see.
Fingers crossed in that case.
There's been 5, hasn't there? So who am I missing?
Odegaard.
Do you know what? Again, I said this last night. Odegaard wasn't the player we wanted. We wanted the Madisons and the like. But I'm happy with Odegaard. I said last season, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Fabregas in the way he's always looking around. He's always, very aware of people who are on the pitch. And you've seen his assist for Saka against West Brom. And just to be able to see those passes. I know people sort of said he hampered Saka a little because he tends to drift out to the right. But for me, no, Odegaard for the money, especially for 30 million, I think that's a really good deal. So, I'm happy with the signings, but I still think we need an awful lot more. And in terms, just to go back to what you were saying, Scott, and I really got a chance to speak about, I'm surprised at how much has been spent and how many deals are going through. And if you look at the Premier League alone, it's almost £1 billion has been spent in this window.
Crazy.
And that, when you consider COVID and stuff, the flip side of that is, why is the only deal we've got money for Willock at 25 million? And you look at Leeds are signing Dan James from Man United for 25 to 30 million. And he's not as good a player as Willock. He's a speedster, but he's not as good a player as Joe Willock. So, you've got to ask yourself the question, why can't we get money for our players, yet other clubs can? How can, Chelsea signed Lukaku for nearly 100 million, and yet they're still in profit right now because of all their fringe players and stuff that they've sold off?
I was on a show last night because we do a collaboration, our show, with a Chelsea fan channel called The Other Side of the Coin. And we collaborate on a Monday night. We've got a show called Down Under Football Crew, and it's a Chelsea-dominated live chat. You should have seen the comments in there slagging off Marina, who I can't remember her last name, but she looks after all their transfers and their business. And there were fans in there losing their mind because they were not getting bullied into signing Koundé. I had to set them straight and say that fan base has been very spoiled for a very long time. Like the way that they've operated their business, they paid for Lukaku with players leaving the club. We have just done so poorly. Players seem to just go on loan. And then it just fizzles out. Look at Lucas Torreira, prime example. Someone that went off on loans and it just kind of fizzled and turned into nothing. But for your question, Lottie, about how I feel with our signings so far, I think we've added a lot of depth, which our squad needed. We did need some depth, but we also needed something really new. And when I look at our starting lineup, and I'm imagining what it will be like with everyone fit, there's still not really anything new from last season for me. Like Erdegaard we had last season, I think he's a good player. I think he offers a lot of quality. We're still the same up front. We're still the same out wide. Sambi in the middle is good, but whether Mikel rates him enough to be dropping 34 for him is interesting. So I feel like we've added depth, but we needed to kind of put a new dimension into the squad before adding the depth, especially when we spent so much money now. We can't say that there's been no backing. We can't say that Arsenal haven't spent, because we've spent. Just time will tell if we've spent wisely, I think.
No, definitely.
Okay.
I mean,
Sorry, go ahead, Lolly.
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it just time will tell. I mean, it's what I just didn't understand going back to that awful game at the weekend. It was why Sambi was benched. I don't understand the logic.
Idea. I have no idea. I saw that, Lottie, and I was so tempted to go to bed because the games aren't at a friendly time. But I'm a sucker for punishment. I sat through every single goal.
Oh, I turned off at half time. I couldn't do it to myself. I couldn't do it.
Oh, it was rough. It was rough.
Oh, definitely.
All right, let's have a look at some of these comments just before we go any further. We've got two. So declared salt and balsamic vinegar, chips, Red Rock delis. I'm sure you with me, Scott. Players didn't want to pay cut and clubs needed money, with created a massive domino effect.
Yeah.
Matt, afternoon, Matt. What's going on with our club? I wish I knew. I'm sure they're playing by the rules because it's not the club's fault. It is issues with the rules and how they're enforced.
Yeah, definitely.
Jay, depth, yes. Quality, not so much. Matt, where's Hector going and what's the latest in the Maitland Niles? Well, it looks like Hector is off to Real Betis.
On loan, no obligation to buy.
Yeah, no obligation.
What are your thoughts on that, Scott?
Poor. I'm not shocked. It's again another player leaving, but not really leaving, or not leaving convincingly. I have plenty of time for Hector Bellerin. He dipped after his injuries, but he's been at the club a long time. We've kind of watched him grow up there. So part of me is sad to see him go, but I would have liked him to at least go for some more pennies in the bank for us. But it just sums up how we've done our outgoing transfer business under the current leadership. So poor business.
Here's to hoping he has a golden season.
In terms of Maitland-Niles, the talk is, I've seen a couple of rumours earlier on that apparently it was a 2-year loan deal that Everton were offering, and that Arsenal haven't actually said no to it yet, and that they are, Arteta, Edu and Maitland-Niles are to have talks this afternoon about it, so he potentially could still be going out. What I would say is if he's going, and there's talk that El Neni could be off the Galatasaray, if that's the case, then we're definitely getting a midfielder. You know, there definitely is going to be movement in a midfielder coming in, because otherwise we have nobody. with Aziz going to Portsmouth yesterday for a season-long loan. That would leave us with 34, Partey and Sambi as our only midfield options. So, there definitely is one or two midfielders coming in if those two are going out. Matt, with his panda face, I know that's your private joke, declared, am I right in saying that Tomiyasu, the transfer spend is about 150? Yeah, you are right, about 150 million.
Yeah, maybe 147, 146, I think.
Yeah, and essentially we've strengthened, you could argue we've strengthened one position, which is the right back, and he's not the signing that I would have wanted. Ryan, afternoon everyone, how are you, Ryan? David Odegaard will turn out to outstanding value for money. Declared, compared with Fabregas, does that mean he will end up at Chelsea?
I saw that one. I've got no comment on that subject.
But you know what? All joking aside, I'm looking forward to Lukaku signing for Arsenal in about 3 seasons' time.
No, thank you. We're not a Chelsea retirement home, and we're not a clearance sale club either. Thank you very much. They can keep him. No,
our
thank
recent
you.
business begs to differ, Lottie.
Yeah. Gary, my issue with Ramsdale deal was it seems like a deal for a number one goalkeeper, and if so, will then it'll be sold in January. Not sure having 2 number ones is something Arsenal should do, as they need that cash for other spots. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's very much a case of Ramsdale has been brought in to replace Leno. 2 years left on his deal. He has to be sold January, worst case next summer. He has to go. Declared, yeah, it's stupid and ridiculous. Part of the fan base who was raised up on FIFA Ultimate Team and proper Chelsea fan wouldn't have a bad word about Marina and the work she has done. Yeah. Speaking of, I mean, this thing, and James obviously said it as well earlier on about, FIFA. And it is sad to see so many people and they make comments and they're basing their opinions on FIFA. I actually, I was telling Lottie, I was watching another channel. I'm not going to mention the channel and stuff because I've never badmouthed another channel on this show. But I was watching another channel a week or 2 ago and they were talking about the deal for, I think it was Sambi, possibly. And the person, one of the people on the show commented that he wasn't worth that much on FIFA. So why were we spending that on him? And it was just like, I just had to turn it off. I was just like, if this is how people are honestly, they're doing shows and trying to get people to watch their shows on YouTube and, follow them on Twitter and have interaction. And they're saying that we shouldn't have signed a player for that much because he's not worth that much on FIFA. It beggars belief. Ross, hi Ross, how are you? Jumped down a couple there. Georgina, busy summer next year with all these deals. Yeah. If El Nene goes, we party. Keith, keep smashing it, folks. Off for a meeting now.
Georgina,
yeah, we'll see you at 4, Keith. Hopefully there'll be some more deals going on.
Sorry,
Ross, all we need now is transfer of manager. Swarat, is it wise to let Lacazette go for free next summer? Just before we answer that, just to let you know, I have seen your message there, and I'll respond to you later on whenever I get a few minutes and we're off air. Letting Lacazette go for free next summer, Scott, what do you think?
Look, I quite like Lacazette. I feel like one of the problems with Lacazette is that in terms of a consistent run in the team, and I'm a big believer in 2 things for a team to be successful: consistency and chemistry. And, I think for Lacazette, he's not necessarily had the consistency in recent years. He's kind of played up front, then he's been on the bench, then he's been an impact sub, and then you haven't seen it. I just feel like he needs a good, 6 or 7 starts up front on his own. I do feel he holds the ball up better than Aubameyang. I feel like he probably operates better than Aubameyang in Arteta's system right now at the front. I'm not saying that I out and out as a striker. I love Aubameyang, but in the system we're trying to play, I think he's more effective at the front, to be completely honest. I hate losing a player for free. I really don't, because I see every other club selling them. So to me, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. If we renew the contract, we've got to pay up the wages, and then we may keep a player that people aren't happy with, or we don't renew the contract and we see him go on a free transfer. It's you're stuck between a rock and a hard place there. But I like what he offers, and I think he can offer more than Aubameyang in Arteta's system. And I've really got to stress, in Arteta's system. So I don't want people saying I don't rate Aubameyang, because I certainly do.
Okay. Lottie, I mean, we've talked about this before, but if it was you, would you be selling Lacazette today if we could find a buyer for him?
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's what, 31, 32 now, I think? Maybe a little bit, maybe 30. I'm not 100% sure how old he is. But he's in for one last big contract, and then he's done. I mean, the rumour at the moment is Juve are looking at Aubameyang. They've identified him as a target. So do we keep him or do we sell him? That's the question. I don't think anybody's been linked to him recently. So I still think he's a good influence on the younger players, which is handy for a year, I suppose. But I mean, all in all, we bought him for what, 50 mil previously when we first got him. He hasn't been that 20 goal scorer season, and he's I like him, but I'm disappointed with him. So it's a case of get rid of him or keep him let him go for free. I don't know what the answer is.
Okay. Gunnar San, hello peeps. I just watched 3 compilations of Takiri Tomiyasu, and I must say he looks a gem. He's skillful, strong, pacey, would be better than Chambers and holding on the right side of a back 3. Do you know what? I have to say something. Whenever we finish the show, or tomorrow or something, go and watch 3 compilations back to back of let's see, who do I want to say?
Granit Xhaka. 34. Yep, 34.
Go and watch 3 compilations back to back of Yaya Sanogo or Nicholas Bentner, and you'll come back and you'll say the same thing. And that, unfortunately, is the sad thing that, you know, and we all do it. You know, I'm guilty of it as well. Of, you know, when we're linked to a player, going to YouTube and looking them up and seeing, you know, this compilation of them. But it always shows you the good stuff. You know, and I said this before about Hector Bellerin. If you ever watch a video of Bellerin, it's all amazing runs down the wing where he goes past lots of people, but it stops before he actually crosses the ball. You know, so unfortunately, I don't want to cast judgment on him just off the back of YouTube videos and stuff. He may well be, you know, a very good player. We don't know enough about him, but it's just not one that excites me, to be perfectly honest. You know, for me, I wanted Max Aarons, and you know, Max Aarons had the advantage of being a homegrown player as well. So we'll wait and see how he turns out. Jay, I saw somebody reply to someone else on Twitter about the new right back. He looks good on FIFA 21. Yeah, Mr. Arsenal podcast. How are you? Afternoon, everybody. Declared, sounds about right with FIFA mindset. It does. David, using FIFA for valuations is so stupid. Mr. Arsenal podcast, I timed that well to join seriously. The FIFA generation needs to do one. FIFA isn't real life. Absolutely. It's not. And I think, you know, too many people are guilty of it. But honestly, valuing someone based on their FIFA value and their FIFA ratings, just crazy. Georgina, let Ainsley Maitland-Niles go to Everton, build a bond, get Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Fair enough. Yes. Ryan, football manager over FIFA. I have to agree with that. Football manager over FIFA. However, I also know that you're not saying that, Ryan, because of trying to base valuations on Football Manager. I know you're smarter than that, because I've read some of the stuff that you wrote and some of the analysis you did on players way back, a while back, whenever you had your other Twitter page. So declare, let the older players go. It's young to get youth with the talent you guys have. Get a manager that knows how to get the best out of them and build on that for a few seasons. My highlights on YouTube make me look a world beater, Ross. Georgina, you can never really judge a player until he's on the pitch in our shirt, really. Yeah, absolutely. When you have no idea about a player and want to learn quickly, these compilations will always get to you. Yeah, they absolutely will. And that's what I've said. We all do the same thing. We all go type in the name into YouTube and see what it's like, but they can be very misleading. Everton wanted Izzy Mittelnaz on a 2-year loan, but they can get him for free at the end, but no wonder we said no. What I heard was a 2-year loan and an obligation to buy at 10 million afterwards, which I didn't realise was a thing, but apparently it is, because that's how Juve are doing the Locatelli deal. They're taking him on a 2-year loan with an obligation to buy at the end. Let's sign up Russ as new striker, and Russ I trust. Excellent. All right, so moving away from Arsenal for a minute, I want to talk about, and Scott, you may have a wee bit more insight into this as you spend a lot of time with Chelsea fans. What's the Chelsea fan base's feeling on the whole issue with Jules Koundé? It looks very much like Sevilla have changed their mind and have said, no, you can't have him for 45 or 50 million. We want 80, which is his release clause.
Look, from what I was kind of gathering last night, like I said, I've been in enemy territory a fair bit lately with the Arsenal-Chelsea game not so long ago. It really is divided. You've got half of their fan base, and I know Declan will probably share his thoughts on this too. He's a big Chelsea man. But half of them really feel like, you know what, we're Chelsea Football Club. We've got the cash. They want an extra 15 million. Go and splash it. Just make it happen. We need the player. But the other half are kind of saying you can't have these agreements, and then they feel like Sevilla have waited for them to sell Kurt Zouma, who to me is a great signing for the Hammers, and then up the price as soon as Chelsea were down the centre-back. So to me, I think it's some cheeky business from Sevilla, but it could blow up in their face because they'll be stuck with an unhappy player who then eventually will leave for free, and it could impact on the chemistry. So it was a real mixed base, but if it was me personally, I've watched Arsenal over the years get absolutely spanked and embarrassed over outgoing transfers. Clubs pulling moves like that on us because they knew we were desperate. So I have if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd have no problem with saying to Sevilla, see you later. Because quite frankly, you set a precedent. If you go back now and you let them pull that move on you, what's to stop the next club doing it to you, and the club after that, and the club after that? I actually think Arsenal needs someone like Marina in there looking after our transfers, because we probably would have gone back and given them the 15 million. So, yeah, it was very split, Stephen, very split. But they seem to be in agreement that a midfielder is the main priority for them, because they do have some solid depth in their squad. They're the champions of Europe, for goodness sake. So, yeah, interesting times, very interesting times.
Okay. Just flicking through, obviously, as I have been, I've got the Sky Sports and BBC websites and stuff open here, and just reading there on Twitter, it looks very much Runnerson is gone. It looks like a done deal out on loan. Lottie, thoughts on Runnerson going out? Are you glad to see the back of him?
Do you know what? How much did we get for him? That's my first question. Do you know?
It's a loan deal.
Oh, can we not just sell someone? I'm sick of loan deals.
Eddie doesn't know how to sell players.
This is a joke. We're not going to get rid of this kid. I mean, he's valued at £1 million. Like, oh, for God's sake. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I just want to, do you know what? I will literally pop a bottle of champagne if we sell anyone today. I've got a bottle in my kitchen. No. Why are we loaning and not selling? We need to cut down the squads. We need to cut down the wages. And he's useless. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Give me a second, guys. I just got to find my laptop charger.
God, that's poor. It's poor business again, because you just get caught out then, Stephen, in situations where you think a player's gone, but then 12 months later they could rock back up at the training centre. It's just poor form. We have performed, in my opinion, when you look at the prices, when you look at how long it took us to do the business, I actually think we've performed really poorly this window. I think some of the signings are high-quality signings. Sambi is, to me, phenomenal. But overall, I don't think it's been a good window, which is something I never thought I'd say when we'd spent £150 million. So the last 10 years, I've just wanted us to go and splash money and spend like some of the other big guys. But now we've done it, I'm not satisfied, to be completely honest, with how we've used the money and some of the players we still got. Who'd have thought that Willian would be the shining knight for what he did? Who would think that piece of outgoing would be the most classy and easily done? Well, it's our transfer business is so erratic. You can't predict it.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple of comments here. Russ, just going back to that one, he couldn't score in a Newcastle nightclub. You know what? None of our players could at the minute. So declared a lot of fans don't understand the basics of negotiations, hence why I brought up FIFA fans. Chelsea aren't desperate and Chelsea has the upper hand here. Okay. Russ, clubs know we are desperate to sell, so they will lowball us. Absolutely. And they also know that Eddie doesn't know how to negotiate, by the looks of it. How does the panel feel about Niles? That Instagram post dropped his value for the club and caused a lot of problems. Should he be fined? So it was John Cross from the Mirror has reported today that Maitland-Niles has been told he'll be training on his own until further notice or away from the first team.
It's ridiculous.
So, as a sort of punishment, however, I personally still think he's going to go today. I think he will end up at Everton by the end of this window. And more than likely, unfortunately, will be a loan deal. Scott, I mean, we talked about it last night a bit on our show. What was your thoughts when you seen this come out?
I actually think it's really sad, to be honest. If I had to pick a word to describe it, it would just be sad. We have shown so much love and seen the rise of two of our, academy graduates in Bukayo Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe. Like, look how much love those guys have got, and how much hype there's been around the fact that we're seeing academy players coming in and doing business. I actually think Ainsley Maitland-Niles, it's just sad when I think about it, because I think there's a bit of fault from everyone. I think he's been poorly advised. I think the club has treated him poorly to an extent, if the rumours are true that he wanted to play right back this season, because he's still, in my opinion, our best right back. But again, to me, from Arteta, I feel like he likes to play that tough disciplinarian, but only with certain players. Like, I don't see him ever being the tough disciplinarian with 34. I don't see him pulling it on other, kind of more senior players, but has no problem clashing in these situations. I'm sad for Ainsley Maitland-Niles, because I think he just wants to play football. And you've got so many players who are happy to sit at a club, collect a paycheck and not play. But this is a young kid who represented England. So he's got some talent. He just wants to play football. And if the rumours are true that he wanted to play right back and we started Cedric over him against City, then I can understand him being furious. But again, professionally, you can't speak out publicly against your employer. There are two sides. I just think it's a really sad situation.
Okay. Lottie, anything you want to add on the Maitland-Niles situation?
No, it's just the case of remembering that he needs to find the balance of, yes, he's human. And that's what I found with my Twitter yesterday. Everyone just completely switched on. I'm like, what are you doing? He's a kid. He hasn't got the right management behind him. But he also needs to have a look at his personal and professional life and find the balance between it, because you can't be washing your dirty laundry out in public, which he's done it for the second season in a row. So I don't know with him. I do feel sorry for him though.
Okay. We'll have a couple more comments and then I have a question for you both. So Mr. Arsenal podcast, when window closes, can we please sack Arteta and Edu and bring in Mark Overmars to replace Edu? I genuinely think Edu will be gone tomorrow morning. That's my personal opinion on that one. Weezy J just had some come into the store returning their top and asking for Arteta out 8 on it. I actually seen that on
I've seen someone. Yeah, I've seen that on the third kit
behind you.
Yeah,
there, Scott, with the Smith Rowe on it.
They've got his number on there as well. That's the mad thing.
Yeah. Gary, Xhaka, Roma extension, red card, patting the Nas, Everton, no extension, Instagram post, exiled. Yeah. Sorry, 34. Yeah, I understand. Russ should have sold Maitland Nas last summer for 20 million. We won't get anything like that for him now. Arteta has overseen that situation poorly. He has, but at the same time, can you really blame Arteta? I mean, for that one, in the sense that he played at left wing back and was good, and was told, stay at the club, you have a future at the club. But it was obviously on the basis that he was going to be playing as a right back or a left back. He then made it clear he didn't want to play there, so he didn't get the game time. So, he was told he had a future at the club based on playing at those positions, but then he didn't want to play there. So, I mean, who's to blame for that? Is it Maitland-Niles or is it Arteta? I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Scott?
Well, one of my biggest criticisms of Arteta is I feel he is very hit and miss with young players. I look at Matteo Guendouzi going, and I know he had some attitude problems, but I work with kids for a living. I'm a teacher. And you can't just have a kid that comes into your class who might have some behavioural issues and you say, oh, no, get out. You've got to work with them. And I think Arteta was not willing to work with Guendouzi out of fear of having someone who would stand up to him or call him out. So I think we messed up there, because when I look at 34 and I look at Guendouzi, I know which one I'd rather have. I'd rather have Guendouzi in that midfield. I look at the William Saliba situation and the fact that Kolasinac started at centre-back for us, and I think surely not. Surely Kolasinac is not a better centre-back than Saliba. I understand that he's raw. But I look at some of the things with young players. Joe Willock, we couldn't get anything out of him in our system and our structure, but Steve Bruce could at Newcastle. I feel he's hit and miss. But in saying that, he's done some good work with Emile Smith-Rowe. Saka, I think, has gone from strength to strength, but people need to remember Emery called Saka up, and Freddie Ljungberg, they were both pivotal in that too. But I think he's so hit and miss with young players, and I don't know if it's a fear of being confronted or stood up to, or if it's something else. But that, to me, is one of the areas he needs to improve if he wants to continue managing a big club.
No, I completely agree with you there. I mean, there's a lot of people who say he's not suitable for the job, he's not this, he's not that. But I think Stephen said it last night while I was watching the boys. It's a case of picking the cheapest person from the pile, from the Cronkies, and it just happened to be him, unfortunately. I mean, next question is, who do we bring in next?
Well, that's the thing. I see a lot of talk about Conte. Conte is not coming to us. It's not going to happen. And even then, like you would know, Lottie, that on our show, RJ and Rob are both big fans of the Serie A, and he's managed both their clubs. Like their kind of vibe on Conte is that he comes in, he does some business, but then he leaves. Like he trashes the place on the way out. He leaves a mess. So I don't think he's necessarily the man, but it's hard to say who is at the moment. There aren't a lot of top quality managers available. out there. And then you got to think, will the manager want to work with the Cronkies and the structures we have in place? That I don't know.
Personally, I think with the Arsenal fan base at the moment, everyone's, let's get Conte. But what people are failing to understand is that he basically left his last club because they were in a really bad financial situation. He had to sell his top players and there was no more money.
Yep.
What makes you think that the Cronkies are going to give him the money he wants after what we've just spent? It's not going to happen. I can't see it happening. I'm trying to be realistic about it. I'd love to have him, don't get me wrong, but we just need some realistic views on it at the moment, because I've had so many people come at me over social media. Oh, we'll get Conte. I'm like, have you looked at the facts? This is what happened. It's not going to happen. Be realistic. They're not going to pay him the money he wants.
Yeah,
I don't know what you
I
think
agree.
about that, but it's just too much out there. I want this, I want that. It doesn't work like that. As James had said earlier on the show, there's so many things to consider in the background. It's all very well. So yeah, we'll have this player, but you need to look at the behind the scenes. Like, you've got players moving away from their families, players that don't know the language, and everything else. And it's so many factors into it that we don't see. And I mean, we've just signed a new right back, but that person's now got to come over here, find a house, learn the language, and then also settle into the team.
And
it's
again,
a lot.
I go on about it all the time, but chemistry.
Yeah,
like
that as well.
We need to play a consistent defensive line, and they need to start knowing when to, almost telepathically, when to cover each other, when it's safe to push up, when you need to drop back, when you need to push out to the sides because there's an overlap. Like, you need a consistent defense for that to build, and we chop and change our defensive line. It's not. I couldn't predict. I'd have more chance of winning the lotto or the lotteries. I'm not quite sure what you guys call it there.
Yeah, same thing.
I'd have more chance winning that than predicting our defensive line in any game. So interesting. But with a new signing in, the language barrier is there, the adaptation to the Premier League and the pace.
Exactly.
I wish him all the best. I do hope he's a brilliant signing for us. We need it.
No, definitely.
All right, we'll take a few more comments, and then I've actually thought of a couple of questions for you. Georgina news now that Palace for Eddie Field due to personal terms. Okay. Swearit, Fab just tweeted that Arsenal are not interested in signing Houssem Aouar in these final hours. There are currently no talks with Olympic Lyon for Aouar, and that makes me very, very sad. The Mr. Arsenal podcast, seeing rumours we were making last-ditch effort to get Dembele from Lyon. I read that earlier on as well. Odin Radner,
Gary.
14. Gary, yeah. Hi, everyone. Back from the hospital. All okay now listening. Other Gary, Arteta shut him out of games last season. Arteta got FA Cup with Ainsley Niles playing for him. Yeah. Russ, Ainsley Maitland-Niles is perfect for overlapping with Pepe. Yeah, he did that well.
Cedric can't do it, that's for sure.
Renato Sanchez deal with Wolves fell through. Arsenal, yeah.
Bring him. That's someone we need.
Yeah, possibility. Declared, I feel though, if you give Conte the 150 mil you spent this season, another 100 mil next season, players sold wouldn't not show ambition. Plus, players sold would not show ambition he wants. Potentially.
Yes.
Get Bruno from Lyon. All midfield issues would be resolved. Yeah.
Kimara's, yes.
Do you know what? 55 million buys you Bruno Guimaraes and Houssem Aouar.
Just spend the money. Be done with it.
It's a no-brainer for me. Mr. Sparks 1886. Good afternoon, peeps. What have I missed? You've missed plenty so far. Can Cedric do anything? Not an awful lot by the seams of it. So, listen, quite a few watching live. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure and do so, please, and make sure and drop a like on the video for us. We really appreciate your company. We will be here for another wee while, and then we'll jump off for an hour or two, and we'll be back on at 4 for an hour or two, and then we'll be back on from 7 o'clock right through to after the window shuts tonight, so that just let you all know what's happening. So yeah, a couple of questions. We'll talk firstly about Arsenal. And for me, we may have spent 150 million, but arguably, as I've said before, the only position really we've strengthened is right back. So, you know, we always hear the quote from Josh Kroenke of "be excited." I'm not excited. It's clear that, you know, the fans don't want the Kroenkes. We don't want the Kroenkes. Edu's not done his job. And for all intents and purposes, Arteta's not doing his job either. Is the most important person to get rid of Arteta? Is it Edu or is it the Kroenkes? Who is the blame? Who is it that we need to get rid of most? Scott, I'll let you take that one.
I was hoping Lottie would go first, give me thinking time. But in saying that, to me, it starts from the top. Okay, it starts from the top. Since the Kroenke group has owned Arsenal, our standards and our expectations have slipped. Our status as a club has slipped. Our lure of players has slipped. And most disappointingly for me, the expectations of the fans have just slowly but surely been diminished and eroded and worn away. To me, losses aren't hurting as much anymore because I'm expecting them. So it all starts from the owners. They are responsible for filling Edu's position. They are responsible for the manager. It is their club. And until they go, I think we're just going to rinse and repeat the cycles of mediocrity. And it hurts. I've had a bit of criticism, people messaging me saying, you know, you're not a real fan. How can you speak so negatively about your club? To me, it's not about positive or negative. I actually think you're doing more harm than good by pretending that everything's okay, because it's not. When you've watched this club for a long time, I remember the days that, you know, getting top 4 was our minimum expectation because that was the bare minimum. You look at it now, ask 50 Arsenal fans if they think that we realistically will make the top 4 this season. I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would put my money on most of them saying absolutely not. Now, to me, we have just really slipped, and it's sad, it's disheartening, but the reason I'm not going to be falsely positive is because that doesn't create change. That doesn't bring positive change. And I'm also not going to sit here and cross that line into abuse or anger or rants, because it is what it is. This is where we're at. And until the change at the top is made, it is where we will continue to be. They have put money out there this window. So I think that criticism can't be there. And now it's about what Arteta and Edu have done with the money. But overall, big picture, we're not a big club and there's nothing to be excited about until they're gone. They're mediocre owners and they're turning our expectations mediocre, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Lottie?
I completely agree with Scott there. I mean, we're rotten from the top down. I've said this many times before. We've basically played for the LA Rams move. If you look at the photos of their ground, whatever you want to call it over in the US, I do apologize to the American viewers. It's nothing but the best. And like I've actually pointed out to the Arsenal media team, I said, how can you use a shot of the stadium when the badge is actually peeling? Like the gold paint is peeling off the badge. you should be embarrassed of yourselves. But yeah, no, like simple things like the maintenance and everything is just gone out the window. I mean, this ground's not even 20 years old yet, and it's in that state. I mean, we're just rotten from the top. It all starts with them. Arteta in, Arteta out. Do you know what? At this point, we should be looking up the ladder. I mean, I remember going to the protests back when we first found out about the Super League, and somebody actually put an effigy up of the Cronkies up on the posts outside. So I know there's fans that are angry out there, but the momentum's gone, and I don't know where we go from here, because there's a lot of hashtag turn up, stop buying tickets, stop buying merchandise, do something about it. I know this is not going to affect anything on a domestic level, but we need to, like, even around the world, it needs to be stopped. If we want to see change, it needs to be a global movement, and at this point, I can't see it happening, and that's why nothing's really changed since then.
And it's hard because you're addicted to supporting your football club. Now I'll put on the table. Look, you can see it behind me. I saw that kit, the nostalgia of the old kit.
Yeah.
Like, I went and bought it, and I didn't just buy it for myself. I bought one for my son. I saw this kit. I loved it. I bought it for myself. I bought one for my son as well. Like, it's hard. You have to acknowledge that for many people, football it's not a game. Like my wife knows those are words we don't say in the house. She doesn't. It's just a game. We can't say those words.
No.
But for many, it's a religion, or it's something that it's
passion.
A deep, passionate connection, and it's hard to shake the habits. But like, I've had to call myself out for buying 6 kits this season, and say to myself, like, no matter, well, when you count myself and my son, two of every.
Sorry, I did apologise for that.
No. I don't like the kids that much, but 2 of every kid. I've contributed to part of the problem, and we need to start being part of the solution. Don't get me wrong, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have as well. I mean, I intend to get that blue one, the exact same blue one behind you. I love that kit. I'm not buying the home one. I bought the yellow one. I mean, I waited until the last third and home kit last season were on sale. So, have we lost Scott?
Apparently you've found Scott.
Great. But yeah, no, it's a definite. Oh, I didn't offend you. That's good. That's good.
No, I accidentally clicked refresh on the tab. I don't know what I was thinking.
No worries. No, but I'm in the same position as you. I mean, I bought the kits, and I'm no longer in like that position to say, oh yeah, stop doing this, stop doing that, because I've bought them. And that's just hypocritical, if you ask me. And that's why I haven't really commented on it very much recently.
You know what? At the same time, like, I see fans that are still managing to hold their hope and their optimism, and you don't want to be in conflict with those people, because you know what? If you can look at the team and you can have hope and optimism at this point, good. That's brilliant for you. Like, I don't want to go and make someone feel bad for buying a kit, because
no, definitely
you do what you need to do. But the Super League, that whole fiasco showed that fans do have power. We do have power when we're united, and when we have a common goal that we try and influence. International fans need to do it via social media. We need to do it via social media, via merchandise. But the fans that are over there need to do it with their feet. Unfortunately, everyone's got a role to play, and it's not all on one group. But yeah, it's sad. So, sorry, Stephen. That was a long answer to your question, Stephen, but it was a good question.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's just, as you said, Scott, football's part of life. I mean, I've just said all that, and I'm still going to the Norwich game. I'm still going to buy that third kit. So
I wish I was going.
It's a vicious circle, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just
Listen, guys,
too much.
You know, I can't say anything either. I mean, I've spent a fortune on kits. You know, I've got one for myself, full kits for the kids. I'm sitting here today, and I haven't got the third kit, but I have got the third kit shoes that were released. You know, so I'm sitting here wearing them right now. So I mean, I'm as guilty of it as anybody else. But yeah, I think this window has shown me it's 150 million we've spent, but it's not enough. You know, we need a massive overhaul. The Cronkies don't care. I don't know who we get, but the Cronkies don't care about the club. I wasn't going to do this. As I said to Lottie and G, we designed our own Cannon Chatter Cronky Out t-shirts to sort of back the campaign for Cronkies Out, and we weren't going to do this until probably tonight. But the link is in the description of the video if anybody wants to get a We Want Our Arsenal Back Cronky Out t-shirt, Cannon Chatter one. The link's down there if anybody wants to get them. The Cronkies have to go for me. Edu has to go for me. And whilst I'm getting splinters on my backside from sitting on the fence about Arteta, I am falling into the Arteta out category. I just don't know who we get to replace him. And that's the thing. So, yeah, it's a good one. A couple more of these comments, then I'll say I have one more question, and then I know, Scott, you need to bounce off soon. So we'll do these, and then I'll say one more question for you. We've got two. Surely two big first-team starters was a better way to go, though. Possibly, but we need, and I've always said, we need strength and depth. We needed probably 4 first-team starters, but we also needed backup players. And we've got arguably Ben White is a first-team starter, and Tomiyasu, who's coming in today, is going to be a first-team starter. So there's 2, but we need at least 2 more. You know, we need a centre midfielder to replace number 34, and I still think we need an attacker, whether it be a centre forward or someone who can play just in that final third. Mr. Arsenal Podcast, the stadium screams how the owners run the club. Absolutely, you've commented on that already. The problem is that if I stop buying my season tickets, when do we have a decent club, then I won't get it back. Yeah, that is a concern. I know that's a concern for a lot of fans, that if they give up their season ticket, you know, it could be 15, 20 years before they get it back again.
I've been on the waiting list for 6 years, so completely agree with you, Mr. Sparks. Yeah.
David, I don't often get kits, but I have the new away shirt as it just looks so nice. I'm the same. Mr. Arsenal Podcast, the outside is faded and ruined, and the seats are all faded in general. It looks like a stadium that we left to move somewhere else, if that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely it does. David, I wouldn't usually do this, and it's my first shirt for about 15 years. Declared, Scott, you say you're part of the problem with your jersey obsession. Yeah. Mr. Arsenal Podcast, again, there seems to be more energy at the moment towards a certain fan channel than the owners of this club. Yeah. And as always, I'll never knock another channel. But I understand exactly what you're saying. Bought the third kit for my son, 90 quid, and the Saka peeled already. That's crazy. Kits are only a percentage to the club, in fairness. They are, yeah. But if we all stop buying the merch, and, Adidas have already paid Arsenal for the deal, but if they're not selling shirts, they're not going to want to pay them for another deal. And I think that's, you've got to look at the long-term effect of it. The Conga 2 should be a starter. Arguably, yes, he should. And Izawar is still possible. Romano has tweeted out saying Arsenal have no interest at the minute. And that one looks pretty much dead in the water, that Awar is going to stay at Lyon. But you never know. If El Neni was to go and Maitland-Niles goes, we need midfielders.
Stephen, I've just seen a tweet from James Ollie that Alba's staying where he is.
Yeah, but as I say, I mean, things could still change. There is about 9 hours, 11 minutes left of the window. So there's still plenty of time for stuff to get done. All right, last question, Scott, before you jump off. If we look at the Premier League as a whole, we talked about it earlier on, are we surprised by how much business has been done? Who do you think has done the best business?
That's a tough question. I would probably go with Manchester United. I think defensively they needed a really good partner for Maguire, and I think they've added a guy of Champions League, international, Title winning experience in Varane, who to me is excellent. Great signing for them. The madness they pulled swooping in to snatch Cristiano Ronaldo from the jaws of their rival. I mean, that's a player that's going to bang in 20 goals for you a season and put fear factor around your club. To me, if you're a defender and you know you've got Cristiano Ronaldo coming up against you in the next match, you're nervous. He'll strike that fear into players. I think Jadon Sancho will be an excellent signing too. With time, I think he'll need to adapt to the league. But they've been pretty good. They stand out for me. I think each of their signings has seriously improved their club. So in terms of the best transfer business, I have to give them a shout. I think Chelsea, obviously, and I can see Mr. Sparks has mentioned it in the chat too, their outgoing business has been excellent. Lukaku, I think, was an important piece of the puzzle for them. Something they really needed. Again, like Ronaldo, adds that fear factor. We saw how he bullied our defenders. So I think both those clubs have done good business. And the scary thing for us is they're both above us. And that's now put them even higher. So, yeah, scary times, but Man United if I had to pick one.
Okay. Lottie, same question to you, and I need to disappear for 2 minutes, so talk away.
Okay, brilliant. So the best team for transfers at the moment, I'm gonna have to go with Scott. I mean, I did it absolutely enjoy the Man United meltdown over Ronaldo, but they've got the bits done. What did you think of he could be, I should say?
Yeah, I thought he was going to City, but once you get Sir Alex Ferguson calling you, and you get all of that old guard chiming in, that they swooped, they swayed him. I mean, it also could have been just a piece of business by his agent to get that offer from Man United. What better way to force them into action than by threatening to go to their rivals? It was a shock. I'm happy he's back in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also happy we only have to play them 2 times. I want to see.
What about the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup? It's all possible. Don't
let's
count your
avoid
blessings
them.
just yet.
I'm trying to have some optimism in my heart. You know who else low key have done some good business? I think Aston Villa.
Yeah, no, definitely Aston Villa. I mean, getting Emi Buendia. Oh my god, I'm jealous. I'm really upset about that still. I kind of got carried away with that one when we were doing the rumour mill. I'm very upset about that still.
Yeah, look, and what they've done that I admire is they sold Grealish. They got some good money. Big ups to Albert, he's top man. They got great money for their outgoing transfer, and their owners were really transparent, and they reinvested that money to try and fill the gaps. So I think that they've done good business too. I think they had no choice but to let Grealish go. At the end of the day,
I think if I remember rightly, the club issued a statement. Well, someone up top issued a statement that he's only going to sign the deal. But if a Champions League club came in, they have to let him go, which I thought was a fair enough deal, and I think also a classy touch by Villa as well. Yeah. Is for everyone who bought their new home kits, they were willing to replace them for free if they had Grealish on the back, and I thought that was really, really classy of them. You don't see many clubs that would actually go out their way and do that because they'd be losing money.
Would be nice to have owners like that, wouldn't it?
Do you know what? I want Leicester owners. That's the owners I want. As classy as Villa owners are, I want Leicester owners. Now that is just, that'd be beautiful.
Absolutely. No, but plenty of good business.
No, definitely.
Okay. All right. If anybody has any questions, fire them in now. Scott, you need to shoot on. Are you good for a minute or two? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Hey,
Anybody has any
anyone in
questions?
there, mate, hit that like button because these guys are doing absolute madness today. And I know there's a couple who have come over from our channel. Make sure you sub. These guys deserve it. Because what you are doing today, guys, big ups to you. I know for me, I'll be getting out of bed tomorrow, pulling out the phone and checking what's going on. So, and I know this show's a good place to get that. So, yeah, congrats on what you guys are doing too. Awesome content,
Brilliant.
as usual.
Thank you for that. Scott, while we're waiting for any questions to come in, tell the guys where they can find you and about your own show and stuff. Give yourself a plug.
Yeah, I co-host a show called It's a Football Thing, more shortly known as IFT Pod, with two of my longtime mates. One's a Chelsea fan, one's a United fan. I know Lottie's tuned in a fair few times. Declared's come over as well. We've got a really fun live chat, and we try and, similarly to this channel, we keep it balanced, we keep it fair, we keep it respectful, but it's just all around good fun. So we're on the road to 400 subs at the moment. If anyone wanted to jump over and throw a sub when this is finished, you just search IFT Pod, or maybe I can chuck a link in the live chat. But yeah, very similar to this show in the sense that we keep it classy, we keep it respectful, and we just talk passionately about football.
Excellent. Yeah, guys, definitely make sure and jump over, give Scott's channel a wee follow. Scott and myself have talked before, and we want to work together now going into the future. And this is Scott's second time on the channel, so it's great having him on. And I know we'd love to get onto his channel and chat about some football going forward. So really looking forward to that.
A couple of questions in there.
Any idea how I moved that into the live chat, Scott? Well done.
Are you not signed in on another tab with the show live?
Nah.
I'll jump over and try throw it in.
That's okay. I should be able to do this.
Got to keep you on your toes, Stephen.
There we go. Yeah, there you go. We got it in. Brilliant.
Big ups. See, look, hopefully our channels can work together more, because I think at the core we're very similar. And for me, coming on here is always like a good bit of therapy, because I have no Chelsea and United fans.
Yeah, no, Stephen, it's always a good show, but poor Scott, he's left to the Sharks. Lots of fishing lines, and I don't know how you don't buy it. I'd go crazy.
I'm a teacher, Lottie. I work with kids. I work with kids every day.
What age group are you teaching? Can I ask?
Look, my kids are 9. I've got 26 9-year-olds in my class this year,
okay.
and
they're not too bad. I used to work with the younger 4 and 5-year-olds. They're more fun. They do as they're told when they're told.
I'm not.
And you get to send them home at the end of the day. It's the best bit, especially after a bad day. It's like, okay, bye. Off you go.
It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to keep working together in the future, guys. It's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
A couple of comments saying Mr. Sparks had to turn off the gloating United fan. Ryan, where are we finishing? Oh, that's a good question.
We're lucky if we get out of relegation at this point.
Can we wait till after the deadline, Ryan? Look, I think we'll finish 7th. You know what? I'm going to go 7th. It's been a horrible start, but we only have to play City and Chelsea one more time each. 7th.
7th. Okay. I said at the start of the season, 7th. I think 7th will be doing well. But yeah, I'm going to go with 7th.
Do you know what? I'm gonna stick with 6. Okay. I'm gonna stick with it. I said it. I'm gonna stick with it.
Okay, last question there. Would you take a last second signing out of the blue or not, as it may just be a panic signing?
If it was the right player, I would. If it's a panic signing, I don't know who he is, I won't be happy.
Yeah, look, I'm similar to Lottie. I don't want to just throw money at anyone, but I think if we can get him another midfielder or a striker, I'd be okay with that.
Okay. Mr. Sparks doesn't know how
Exactly.
Scott does it. I don't know how you do it either. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they drive me crazy, and that's only 2 of them. Gary, Gritcho, Stephen, Lottie, and Scott. Transfer, yeah, do you know what? It's a nightmare, but we'll love it. 9 hours to go.
Get your
Mr.
popcorn
Sparks, yeah, for me, we are in a panic. And there we go. Swearit has just subscribed to Scott's channel.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. And I will reply to your message shortly. Okay. Do you know what? We've been on for 2 hours. Breaking news, Wilshire training with Como. So there's reports that Jack Wilshire is training with Serie B club Como in Italy. See if that goes anywhere. Real Madrid have not given up on getting Mbappe today.
Do you know what? They might as well. Sorry,
Sven,
they might as well just wait and get him for free next year. I don't mean to be funny. You might as well just wait instead of drowning out the money. They're in so much debt. They're just going to ruin themselves if they continue.
Yeah. In terms of Arsenal, just to round it up very quickly, it looks like Runnerson's on his way to OH Leuven in Belgium on loan. Bellerin off the Betis on loan. Maitland-Niles could still be going out to Everton. Williams' contract terminated. Nelson is going on loan to Feyenoord. Still no movement on Kalashnik or El Nene. Lacazette. I seen something there a wee second ago. No intention to extend his deal, but is going to stay for another year. And obviously we have then the news that we have signed a new right back who is Takahiro Tomiyasu, coming in from Bologna in Serie A. 22-year-old, reportedly signed for around about 20 million plus bonuses. And that kind of rounds up where we're at so far in terms of Arsenal news. I'm sure there'll be loads more speculation and stuff coming out through the rest of the day. But I think for now, we're going to jump off and take a wee bit of a break. Scott, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, giving up your time all the way over there in Australia. And definitely we look forward to working with you again. Just want to say a big thank you to James, who was on earlier on, from Holland with us. And if you didn't follow him, go over and check him out on Twitter as well. It's James Rowe NL. Lottie, as always, it's a pleasure having your company. We will be back at 4 o'clock today with Keith, the Mad Ramblings, who was on with us last night, will be on. And then we will be back at 7 o'clock tonight. Lottie and Albert will be there, and possibly G as well. And I will be back later on as well, and we'll be joined by Angelo, the sensible gunner, at 9 o'clock. And we'll see who else wants to come on and join us. But there's plenty more talking to be done today. Lottie, anything you want to say before we go?
Have a good evening, good afternoon, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple of hours. Come and join us. We've always got good chat, even if nothing is moving. We will be keeping an eye on everything. All things Arsenal.
Absolutely. And as always on our show, Scott, I'll let you have the last word.
Thanks, guys. Big ups to everyone in the live chat. Awesome. And to both of you again. I know what a grind it is putting out quality content, and you guys are doing such a good job. I look forward to catching up on all your streams. And I know that the other boys, Rob and RJ, send their apologies too. They really did want to be here, but back-to-back streams after their second vaccines that have hit them for 6.
That's understandable.
Yeah. But I know they send their apologies. They would have loved to be here. So thanks for having me on, guys. Let's hope that when I wake up from the sleep I'm about to go and have, we've got some madness done. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, come.
Excellent. All right. Guys, we'll see you at 4 o'clock.